In this video, we're going to continue topic, what are we on here? 6.6, factoring polynomials, and we're going to talk about explain 3, factoring by grouping. So before I get into the example that the textbook had here, I want to look at this really quick. So basically what this is it's two different groups, right? There's the blue group and the green group there. And you'll notice that that's basically two terms because things are being multiplied together. That's considered a term. When we put an addition subtraction sign in between, that splits it into the next term. And hopefully you notice that within that group, there is both have an x plus 3. So when I have that x plus 3, it's like taking out a greatest common factor. So that greatest common factor is going to come out, get factored out. And when we take out a greatest common factor, we write it down one time. And then everything else that's in there with left behind, which is the 2x and the minus 5, gets written as the other factor. And that's would be then we would have had that factored completely. So this is kind of like the middle step that we need to do. So let's take a look at example 3a. So I need to create those groups that I was doing that I saw in the other problem. So the first thing I like to do is I like to kind of split it into two so I can look at, actually let's use the blue and the green. I didn't change colors yet. The blue group and the green group. So I'm looking at that and I'm looking for a greatest common factor. So the blue group, it looks like my greatest common factor is x. So I'm going to pull that out. And I'm going to figure out what's left behind. It looks like when I divide x into, I'm going to pull out x squared, not x. When I divide x squared into x cubed, that is x. When I divide x squared into x squared, that's minus 1. If I look at the green group, it looks like in this one, and this is kind of weird in this one, that the greatest common factor is 1. So when I pull 1 out, I'm left behind with x minus 1. Our goal is within each group to have whatever's in parentheses there be, it's not changing color, be the ugly greatest common factor. So when I see that ugly greatest common factor, I pull it out. I only write it down one time, and then I write down everything else that's left. So what was left behind was the x squared and the plus 1, and that goes in a second set of parentheses. If I was to FOIL this back out, I would get back to the original. So let's try that again in this next one. So I've got my blue group, and I've got, maybe my green group. And these are not stellar examples because there's not a lot to factor out of the green group, is it? So in the blue group, I'm looking at what I would factor out, and it looks like that's a 4th power and a 3rd power. So I'm going to take out x cubed. And left behind, I would have x plus 1. And then in the green group, again, there's nothing I can really pull out other than a 1. So I'm going to pull out a 1, and I'm left behind with x plus 1. And then if I look, I have the ugly greatest common factor of x plus 1. So I'm going to take that out, and I write it down one time. I am left behind with x cubed and plus 1. So x cubed plus 1 would be left behind, and then it would be factored completely.